The living trust. What is it? Why should you do one? There are many different reasons to do a living trust, but the easiest way to understand it is compare it to the will. I've told you what a will is. A will is like a death deed. It just tells us where property is to go. A will has to go through probate. And the number one reason people usually create a living trust is to avoid probate. Now, there are other mechanisms out there now to avoid probate than just creating a living will. Your attorney would have to sit down and talk to you about that, whether you qualify not doing a trust to avoid probate. However, most states still the living trust is the best way to avoid probate. Number two, privacy issues are big to people. If you are to pass away and your state goes through probate, your finances become public knowledge. I have to do an inventory for every one of my probates, and I have to list off what assets are owned by this individual because creditors have rights to come get the property. So the second reason is people don't like that. People don't like going through probate, and they don't like their information to become public. So they create a living trust to avoid those scenarios. The third reason why someone would create a living trust. Maybe there are large family assets, and we have to do some deep planning to avoid some taxes. Now, in the United States, the exclusion amount is so high now. It's $11.2 million as a recording of this. Estate taxes really aren't an issue that most people are concerned about. The fourth reason, you own real estate in more than one state. Owning real estate in more than one state makes that the law of the situs, where the property is located, the law governs. So we have to probate in every state. So if you own a property here in Texas, you got to probate here in Texas. Then you'll have to probate. If you own a property in New York, you'd have to go up there and probate. And I've dealt with those scenarios, and they can become burdensome. In some states, they play little tricks on people. If you're not a resident of the state, the fees are higher. Things take a little bit longer to get done. You don't have priority in their court system. The next reason, the fifth reason why some people create trusts, and this is the most common, especially with young couples, is you don't want your property go directly to your children. Now remember, I told you that a will is like a death deed. It just deeds your property, just gives it. Well, what if you have children under the age of 18? Well, in the state of Texas, we don't give property to a child under the age of 18. It goes to the registry of the court. Now, if you have over $100,000 that you're leaving to the registry of the court, a trust can be applied for and created for your benefit, but that's costly and expensive. Also, it's very difficult on guardians to get the money necessary to take care of little children. So most people put money into a trust. So think of a trust as this different ability that you have. You can control your assets after you pass away. And so for minor children, we usually create what's referred to as a HIMSS trust. We want them to be able to access their money for their health, education, maintenance, and support. And then at a certain age, I usually don't pick before 25, but after the age of 25, they can get their money. Now, the primary purpose we usually create a HIMSS trust is to provide for the education of children. The second reason why a living trust is usually created is there's a child with special needs. This child will never be able to be on his or her own. So you want to create a trust with certain provisions that the government is paying for the care, but you're also able to provide for certain things that the government does not. And the third usually reason people want to control property after they pass away is there's some kind of problem with the child. They have large amounts of debt, creditor issues, or they have a drug addiction. They have some kind of addiction that's going on that if you gave them money directly, it would cause them to relapse into that addiction. So of course, you love your child, you want to help them, so you place a trustee over their money that's going to distribute and kind of watch after them and help them through their life. Okay, those are usually the reasons why people want to control property after someone passes away. And the last reason most people do, the sixth reason why you do a living trust is it's a superior way to distribute property. And let me explain why. If you went down to your bank right now and went and looked at your beneficiary designations. Most likely it is done incorrectly. Most likely you either have one child listed, or you forgot you've had more children, you haven't listed the other children, or maybe a child has passed away, and that's not how you want your property to be distributed. So what happens with a lot of my clients is they pass away, and one child, the person was thinking, I'll leave everything to my one child, and that child will distribute the property equally. That never happens. They keep the money for themselves, even though the parent thought that they were going to do the right thing. I have yet to see, well, actually, I should not say that. I have had one client. She was a lovely old lady. She left everything equally to her siblings. But most of the time, it's always the opposite. They justify in their mind, well, I'm doing everything. I took care of mom. I get everything. So the superior way is, you don't put your kids as beneficiaries on your account. You put the trust as the beneficiary on the account. And then all the money goes to the child with the instructions to distribute everything according to what you have designated. The trust can be an extensive list, listing off every possible situation that can arise and to leave the property accordingly. So the easiest way I tell people to think about a trust is a trust is like a guide. It guides you through, and it tells the people after you're gone how you want your property used. So a trust is a superior way to distribute property, but sometimes people don't want to do it because they don't want to pay the cost necessary to form a trust.